Hello, welcome to Tony's Bonsai. I've been waiting to put this video together for months. It's a root over rock, and what a rock. Look at this bad boy. Woo! Just before we take a closer look at the rock, I wanted to show you the pieces of wood that I've carved into the shape of the pot. So they do actually fit in there quite well. I was planning on adding a thin piece of rubber underneath, but I've not got any. So I've got this kind of carpet type stuff. It's like an underlay, and this will just add a dampener and it'll spread the load of the rock across the pot, so I won't risk cracking the pot when I move it about. This rock is a really good fit. It fits on very well, just like that. That's lovely. Talk about made to measure. My turntable's struggling a bit though, I must admit, under the weight. The majority of the weight obviously is at this larger end, so I built this second piece that can hopefully just go in here, just to add some extra support. Right there. That's lovely. This pot's got lots of nice holes for drainage, so I'll just cover those in scrim tape. Ever since I first saw this rock a couple of months ago, I've been planning in my mind what could work. You know, I was thinking juniper, hawthorn, and in the end I am going to go with hawthorn. I want to plant multiple trees. I'm not certain yet. Definitely one, possibly two, maybe three. And I want to plant them on this rock, sort of staggered, going up, creating some kind of sort of canopy. And it's the kind of landscape you see in the Peak District in the north of England, on these large limestone outcrops. The trees need to be quite small to maintain the correct perspective. I'm not certain which side the front will be yet. However, I mean, this side of the rock does look best. That's the best side in terms of character of rock. However, from this side, we've got this nice sort of, it's perfect. It's like a hollow that I can put a tree in. And by doing that, you'll be able to see all the trunks going up. So yesterday I went to my parents' house where I've got a load of hawthorn that I've been developing for a year or two in the ground. I decided to dig them up, and here's some footage. It's time to select the trees. I've got 15 hawthorn. Which one should I choose? You can see this one, it's got some lovely movement. This is actually my favourite of the 15. My question is, can I keep this small enough and to scale for the planting? I mean, it is an absolute beauty, and it will make a nice tree in its own right, but it could be a bit of a showstopper for on top of the rock. Or perhaps I'm better with a smaller style of tree like this. Again, it's got some nice movement in it. You can't really see it from your direction, but from the side you can. It's nice and compact, and it'd really give that perspective on the rock. So I'm kind of thinking this will work out better than a tree this size. My dad just heard me talking about digging these trees up, and he's very confident that I'll just be able to pull them out of the ground. So I'm going to have a go. Oh, he's wrong. He's just seen a powerhouse like me fail to pull that up, yet he believes he can do it just with a little trowel. So let's see. Do you believe you can?
Of course I do.
Let's see. Go on.
It's a bit more difficult than I thought.
Go on, it comes up. No damaged roots. I don't want to hear any snapping of any roots. Fail!
Fail.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wow.
The soil's been loosened around these two that were next to it, so I think I'll have a go at getting these up next. Nice and deep in. Oh, they're coming up beautifully, those. Oh, I snapped a root. That's bad. That's bad. That's lazy. So that was a root looping down and looping right back upwards, which is why it cracked. Well, there's plenty of roots on that, so that one's going to be just fine. This one's a beauty. It's a lovely cascading tree. That might work well. So I'm just going to work my way along and get all 15 up. This is my kind of collecting. It's so easy. And that's got a lovely bit of movement in the bottom. As you can see, I've added that with wire. I'm just going to work my way down the line like this, loosening them all, just to help me avoid snapping any roots and maintaining the very longest roots that could work well over that rock. Just take a look at this for a crazy tree. Look at those roots. That is natural. It's just grown like that in the soil. How weird. And I've got to do that as a tree on its own and just plant those as exposed roots twisting round. How mad will that be? Out of the 15 trees, I've selected 6 that I think could work well. If I can't get the correct 3 out of these, I have got obviously the other 9 sitting outside in some water, but I think I'll probably have the right ones here. And I want to start off with this tree, which is probably the most unusual of them all. It's like a cascading style, and I want to work out whether this can fit into the composition or not. We've got plenty of roots on this tree, so roots are not an issue. It's got quite a nice flat base, and I want to have a look and see. I'm not sure yet whether I want the trees sort of moving up the rock or kind of moving down the rock. I suspect I'm going to want them to go up as if the wind is coming in from the left hand side, and that does look quite good there. I must admit, I do quite like that. I think that fits quite nicely there. Could it work there? Yeah, definitely. And that'd stop the tree being too high, which is nice. But I would really like these trees to flow up, which says there. I've just come behind the camera to take a look at that, and initially, my initial thoughts are I quite like that. That's fairly decent. But I've got to have a look at all of these trees. This is the creative part that I love. I mean, this is a beautiful, slender, quite delicate tree. It's not at all windswept. Well, there's nothing to say this has to be a windswept composition. You know, it doesn't. You know, I've got lots of windswept trees, and I do like windswept trees, but I'd also be happy to have it a bit more of a sort of traditional calm composition. And if I had something like that, actually that's quite nice as a gentle windswept. I don't need to worry about those roots, I can sort those out. But as a gentle windswept sort of tree, even coming just sort of like that there, I quite like that. I think that works well. This next one's quite unusual. It could possibly work in a kind of windswept style. No, I'm just thinking it's too unusual, and this is just too contorted for it to really fit in, so I'm going to more or less eliminate that tree. Now this next one, forget about this root coming up here. Oh, that I like. That I really like. I think that works great down here at the bottom, sort of moving across. It very much mimics this tree. Could it go in the centre there? Certainly could. It could go there as well. And with the way these roots are, I think this could kind of wedge in there really well into that crack. Like that. There weren't many small trees in the 15, but this is the smallest of them all. And I thought, with it being quite light in terms of its kind of the thinness of the trunk, I thought it could fit in being sort of over here on the end, because I wouldn't want anything too heavy over here. And in terms of it being a bit windswept, that can always be, I could take that off, I can wire those across. And this is the 6th one. This naturally is quite windswept. The root base is there and it does lean over quite a lot. So it naturally fits into this style. And this could be an option for down here. But I like the lightness of this. I like the way this is small. So I think I'm kind of set on that one being there. But what I am thinking is, could I have 4 trees? There's nothing to stop me having 5 more, you know, 4 or 5, whatever. See, I do see these as all having one complete canopy. I don't see it as being styled as individual trees. I like that. I really like that. I love this one. I love the look of this tree. Really like it. That works well. It's just whether I should have 4 trees or whether really there should be 5 to have an odd number. Now, that's kind of pandering to the sort of Japanese way of doing things, but I'm wondering if this small one could be cut off low. No, it just doesn't work, that. That's the 6 trees that I initially selected, 4 of which obviously are here. So I've been outside and looked in, you know, amongst the others, and I came up with this one, which I was wondering if I could perhaps put this in here somehow. It looks quite crowded with the 5. Do you know what? I'm going with the 4. I'm going with the 4. There's a bit more space between them. I'm not doing it just because they say you should have an odd number. I'm not going to do it. I've roughly got 2 parts cocoa coir, 2 parts chopped up sphagnum moss, or whatever moss you've got handy, and 1 part clay that I've mixed with some water to make it a bit softer. Last time I also ended up adding some compost, which I may still do, but for the time being, let's just start off with these basic ingredients. So that's the cocoa coir in. Then I add the moss into this. Let's tip it all in. There we go. And all you do then is you just kind of mix it all together like this. So you grab a lump of clay like that and you just squeeze it all together. With my experiments with muck, I've realised you need to have a lot more of the organic, you know, the moss and the cocoa coir in here, and you don't need anything like the amount of clay that I thought you needed initially. The clay really goes a long way, as you can see here. Look at it coming together. You know, so this is like 20% clay. And after a minute or two of working it, you've got a nice bowl like this that should work perfectly. If anyone's tuning into my channel for the first time, welcome. I've been practicing with muck and root over rock techniques for the past few weeks in order that I've got the skills to put this together. So I've got my muck, I've got my roots, my tree, my rock, my positioning. Let's get it mucked in. The roots of this tree are going to come down this back edge, so I'll turn the rock round so you can see what's going on. Having decided I want this tree up on this top, there does seem to be a natural groove down here that I can bring these roots. Now, I wasn't really planning on making an exposed root. I was going to hide the roots more down these channels. However, I don't think I can hide this one. This one has to come like this. We've got just the one weird root there, and that's got to go. I'm happy to remove that. In order to, you know, get the composition right. So now that that's gone, I should be able to, oh, look at that, there, it goes right in that crack, it divides, we've got nice side roots. This one is awkward, it's coming right at us, but I think I can bend that down and get it into some sort of position. So I will try to do that, and this is where the muck comes in. So now I understand where the tree goes. I'm very happy with it sitting there. I take my muck and I run it down. And into these channels like that. So that should be enough to start. So that's sat nicely in there. That's where I want it. This root is coming down into this muck there. This one goes down into that muck. So those roots are sitting quite nicely there. Applying a bit more muck. Bending this root down in that way there. Basically the three major roots coming down are now quite solidly in position. And I'm hoping that by putting my tape over the top like that, oh, that just moved out then. Got to go back in and get that down into position like that, and then that's nice, that's held in there. So I've got that in a little crevice so that can be held, and then this across the face then can be pulled nice and tight. There, that's held in position there. So that's secured with this vet tape, so it's in place. Roots are coming down nicely. I will put something in to pull those into position, but I'll do that later on once I've got the rest of these roots going downwards. But these roots I will be trying to bring down like this and around, so I can then push that in, bring it around, and then get that going downwards. And with a bit of luck, I might have enough power with this muck to hold this root in place. It won't stop that top from springing, but I can pull that in with some vet tape later on once I've got all the rest of the roots in place. So from this tree now, I've got at least one root coming all the way down to the bottom, and that'll be going into the bonsai soil. And that's really, really good. If I can achieve that, the tree's got a great chance for survival. If you're watching and you're thinking, he's ruining the rock looks awful now, all this muck will be being washed off in the future. So this isn't by any means permanent. The idea of this is just to hold these roots against the rock, like this, while they set in position, start to grow, adapt to the new space, and then the muck is removed and the roots just stay there. So that one there that's worked quite well. Right, now I think I need to get another piece of vet tape to push these roots back, because they are springing a bit. This one that's springing there needs some support, so my plan is to just get the tape nice and tight like that. And my preference is to use these pieces of limestone, so that is quite tight there. That's what I wanted it tight, and then I can wedge this in, hopefully. And that just pushes those roots back nicely there. And I'll do the same at the top, wedge that in, and that'll hold those roots back really well. So one more piece went in down here, because there's that root that's a bit loose, and by putting this on it, I'm hoping that that'll just push that root in. Yeah, and it is doing. That's good. Well, that's that one in position. That should be the only complicated root over rock. The rest should be quite a bit simpler than that. And when I turn it round to here now, it's definitely coming off this back edge, which looks great. It's going over. I would like it to bend a little more over, but I don't think it's a problem. It's definitely moving in the right direction. And as I say, those things can be adjusted and changed further down the line. So let's get the next tree on. And the challenge with this tree is going to be getting this into a good spot, because it's got a lot of roots. And as I say, the aim wasn't really to bring roots down the face. So I would like to bring these roots down into this gap here, like that. Okay, so we've got this twisting. I mean, look at that twist of roots there. What that does allow me to do is have a nice flat base, and it's possible that could it go like that? My problem then is these roots kind of cross over there, and this is coming away from the wind. I'd rather it a bit more like that. Yeah, it's got to go like that, because I want this to go more like that. So this root could come round here, and I could do a little bit of root over rock coming around. That would be nice. Should I ever go on tangling these roots? Whoa, that might be a bit, that's a bit risky. But risk is my middle name. Not really, it's John. but you know what I mean. Right, let's have a go. In for a penny, in for a pound, I say. Wow. They come round to there. Right, okay. So we've got one root here that comes from the back. I think this tree could survive having one of these roots removed. So when I'm doing this kind of experimenting now, if one of them snaps, I can always just cut it off. I think it'll still be okay. There. So I'm beginning to open these roots out now, and hopefully I can use this long one to kind of grip round the back. And maybe this one can somehow grip like that. This is a real challenge, this. And the majority of the roots are on this. They're on the end of this. I'm not going to take the tree off. I'm just going to surround these roots, because they're kind of holding themselves in place anyway. They're almost kind of gripping themselves to the rock because I've pulled them apart and splayed them. So if I can do this and get... I mean, this is a lovely root here as well. I really like how this would almost dance down the cliff. That could be a nice little bonus, that. And then it can just dive into this crack there, which is sort of a natural thing for it to do. There. So this is fixed. We'll set these in position now. Will I be able to hold this thick root down like, yeah, I think it'll just go where it is. And if there's a bit of a bump coming off the rock, that's fine. It's going to be a thick root, that. It could be a bit thick and a bit clunky. However, it will be natural looking, you know. I don't like those roots when you see roots over rocks and they're just dead straight coming down. I think I've created a couple that in the future are going to look a bit naff. I've got a feeling. But you live and learn in bonsai. You practice techniques and you watch videos and you go, oh, you know what? That's the way to do it. So we've got this one root here that certainly needs somehow tucking closer to the rock. Perhaps like that. I can't bring it up. I think it works quite well like that, just tucked in there. I'll try and save that root there. And then like the other side, we've got some nice roots coming down the bottom that are going to go straight into the bonsai soil, giving the tree, again, I think a great chance of making it. We're well over halfway there now, I think. We're definitely over halfway through the bonsai muck I made anyway. And it's time for this tree. Somehow I've got those spaced up a lot further apart than I initially had, which is fine. And I wanted this one to come into this crack there. So this should, with a bit of luck, this should sit in here really, really easily. That's where I snapped this root, removing it yesterday. So I can actually remove a piece of that. And that should make it a bit easier to get in. And then hopefully I can just, yeah, that just kind of wedges in like that. Very, very natural. Very naturally that. That looks good. And hardly any muck for this, which is good, seeing as I'm running out. So I just bring these roots down. And I think these can all flow down this crack, which it is naturally what they would do from there. Round here's, we've obviously got a very, very natural pathway for all these roots to flow. It's easy to look at this muck and say, they're not going to grow in that, it's clay. But as you saw earlier when I made it, it's only 20% clay. This is moss and cocoa coir, so it shouldn't be a problem. This initially was going to be the back, but I'm really quite liking the look of it from that side. We'll turn it round here to what I initially said was the front, and I'm not sure which I prefer, which is great. I love the compositions that are two-sided, you know. And this final tree sits really nicely just in there, like that. One of my favourite parts of this rock is this thin section here with these lovely lines. So kind of the light way to that and the light way to this tree, I think works pretty well. The only issue is going to be getting this seated nicely, but still kind of windswept. Because if I cock it up like that, this back edge isn't sat down on the rock and it just won't look right. I've got a really awkward root there. See how it comes up and forms this big sort of knuckle? It's a lot of the root. Oh, I didn't realise it was that much of the root. Oops. But this sits really nicely now in its position. I can get one good root coming down off the side down into this bonsai soil like that. Therefore, I'm pretty confident that it'll be fine. I'm not worried about this. I just need to make sure that all of these roots are given every chance and covered nicely so they don't dry out at all. I'm not including it in this video, but I'm going to spend quite a while now going around applying moss to all of this muck, to cover all this in moss to help stop it washing away as I water it. But what do you think of that? What I'm most happy about is how good it looks from both sides. So it's not a one-sided sort of composition this at all. I think it works really well. And all I need to do is add some bonsai soil now, get it outside, water it, moss it up. As with all my projects, I'll be keeping you updated on how this gets on in the spring and the summer. I think it's going to do fine. This is my only worry, obviously, this small one, but I'm pretty confident. As always, thanks for joining me. Have a great day and I'll see you soon.